Yeah, hi, good morning or good evening, everyone. Welcome to this learning section. Yes, today we are going to discuss this one more important concept that is environment variables. Yeah, what about these environment variables and how these are going to helpful that in our daily activities whenever you are working with this within the projects? Yeah, what is the importance of these variables and how do we use it that? Yeah, so what is this environment variable if you try to understand it? Yeah, yes, we know that. The concepts of if you have this any programming background, the concepts of the variables. A variable which represents like a name and value representation, right? Yeah, suppose if we just take like about our human being. Yes, human beings yeah. So to identify that we have some properties which are defined. Yeah, what are the properties we have defined? Yeah, name of that the person, age of the person, address details of the person. Yeah, like this we have some set of properties to identify, to recognize the person, right? Yeah, all these things that we can say that the variables are like a properties. Yeah, name is so XYZ is the name. Age, yes, what is the age? And what is the address of that? Yeah, these are all the properties of that user, but in the programming wise we say that as a software terminology wise we call it as variables, which contains a variable name and a value. But what about these environment variables? Yeah, on the Linux system, so whenever we are using the shell, that is a command prompt or terminal, you are running any command is nothing but to display about your usernames, to display about your present working directory to identify that, and which type of the shell are you going to use it. Yeah, some properties it has to manage it, right, on that terminal. The previous what is the directory you are accessing that, in which current directory you are in that. Yeah, if you'd like to show that, or if you'd like to manage that, the complete about operations on that shell, the shell internally it is going to use it some variables. What are those variables? We'll call it as environment variables. Yeah, what about these environment variables if I try to understand it? Yes, it is like as storing that value in a variable by just assigning that some value to that. Yeah, some name to that. A name as like as identification, and whenever we use the name, for that name whatever value we have we can retrieve that. It is like as a name and value representation. Yeah, name value pairs, and this can be changed on the basis of this application behavior. Yes, we can change the values of the variables. Yes, persons, like which you have the property that is age property. Age property, the value is going to change it, right? Yes, every year the age, whenever it is increasing, that the value of the age is going to change it. But age is the property name doesn't change it, but the values are going to change it. Yeah, the same way, whenever we are working on the Linux system, so to manage that, the terminal and user sessions and the directories information, and which directory he was accessing the previously, what is the current directory he is accessing, which user he is that, which group he belongs to that. So all that information to manage it, yes, system level or terminal level we have some environment variables, and these environment variables values can be changed on the basis of that the current the shell environment which we are accessing, that is application point of view. Yes, it can be changed. And if you just observe the some examples of the environment variable, home directory of the user is what is that a default home, the default user home directory. Yeah, that is a slash home and username. Yeah, whenever the user is logged in, that user's default home directory, or that user's home directory, whatever we have, that is going to store it in one of the variable, that is home variable. Home is a variable name which contain that current user's home directory. Yeah, whenever we use it a tiled option, or whenever we use it a cd option, background, it is going to use it this variable, and to this directory it is changing the directory as a cd command point of view. Yeah, so that is one of the important concept, the shell you are using, and on the shell you are running that some commands, and there's commands to supported background, some variables are there, inbuilt variables, and these variables are helping that to manage that the environments. But how do I view that list of all the environment variables which are there on the system or for the current user? Yeah, we have the two approaches which we can have it. One is print env is a command, print env, that is going to print all or part of environment variables. Suppose if I run that, what is the command for this to get it all the environment variables, that is print env. Yes, it is listing that like all the environment variables which have been set up for the current user. Yes, these environment variables are specific to that user. Yeah, currently we have logged in as a vagrant to the system. With vagrant user we have logged in, and print env, yes, for this user in the current his a shell, what all the environment variables are available. Yes, all the environment variables it is listing that. Like here if you see the some environment variables, yes, host name is a variable. Yes, the system host name it is managing that, or this host name it is storing this in this variable, and which shell it is using. Yeah, the default shell is a variable, and this is the value of the shell, and what is the history size it is managing about it. That means we are running so many commands within the terminal, but what is that like or how many number of the history commands it is storing, that is defined as 1,000. But if you need more than that, then you can change the value of this variable, that is 1,000 to that. Suppose if you need the 2,000, then change the value to the 2,000. And if you remember that somewhere we are trying to understand this terminal is nothing but that is also one of the device, that is a devpts0. In the redirections we were understanding that. Yes, this is the terminal which has been set up that for SSH terminal. And which user we are logged in? Yes, user is a vagrant. And some colors representations it is managing that. And the mail, all the mails which have been received, it is storing that for this vagrant user in this location. And this is the path environment variable. Yes, all the binaries, those it have been located in this location, the binaries files. PWD, current working directory, what is the language of this user, what is the home directory of that user, what is the login name of that user. So if you just understand that, like the whenever that the system has been built, or whenever we are launching the system has come up with some inbuilt variables, and it is managing about users information, present working directories information, types of the shells information, path variable information, path like as a binaries locations, home directories information, is all that information it is storing that as a environment variables. As during runtime, as the background shell is going to use these variables. Suppose if I'm running the cd is nothing but it is going to switch to that current user home directory. But what is the user home directory, where it is going to know that, or how it is going to know that what is the home directory of that user? Yeah, so here you see that's like home is a variable, and whatever the value it has been set up, that value it is going to try to replace that. That means indirectly it is like as it is reading home variable. But how it is reading that home variable? Yes, this is the notation. Suppose if I use this now, yes, I am in that home directory itself. But whenever you run it, you don't need to explicitly specify the $home. Directly if you run it, background it is going to read that variable. Yeah, environment variables are going to play very important role during this or working this in the infrastructure or project point of view. Yes, like yeah, the variables and the custom values on the base of the project which are going to use it within the shell. But let me talk it about this one more important variable that's already inbuilt variable, that is path variable. What is the path? Suppose I am running that ls command. Is it going to work it, or is it going to show the command not found? Yes, it is running successfully and I am able to get the output of the ls command. But where is this ls is located? Or if I run the something abc, it is saying that abc command not found. But how my shell, that is a terminal, is able to identify that ls utility, and how does my terminal is not able to find that abc? That means ls somewhere it is located and it is identifying the location of the file, and it is executing that file, and after executing that ls whatever it is written, that output it is printing here, right? That is by the shell. But if I run that abc command, shell is not able to locate abc utility, and it is saying that boss, whatever you are trying to run it abc, I didn't find it, that is command not found. It is returning saying that command not found output. But how the shell is able to find that ls command? Now if I just run that, which ls, so how do you know that where that ls utility is located or cp utility is located, a particular command is located, is how do you know that where it is located? Is just run that which with the utility which ls. Yes, which ls is getting used by the shell. Yeah, now which ls it is using? That is user bin ls. If you go to that with the absolute path of this user bin ls, now you see this is the file which is available. So whenever I am running that ls command, indirectly this file is executing. But how the shell is knowing about it, this file? Yeah, the shell, whenever we run the command, shell is going to use that one of the important environment variable. This is also one of the important variable, that is path. Yes, this path variable it is reading. In this path variable, whatever the values we have, it is going to look into that one by one. Yeah, the first, this ls, is it available in the user local bin? Is it available in the user local bin? No, that is not available. Okay. Then what it is that user bin is available. Then it is going to check it. Is it available in the user bin? Let me find it ls. Yes, do you have this in this user bin ls? Yes, that is available. Then shell is going to use it this file to execute that the command. But in that above one, suppose here in this ls, is it available? Yeah, user bin ls, that is available, right? But in the user local bin, is it available ls? No, that is not available. So how the shell is going to, if you are running that any command, suppose pwd command is running, is nothing but, so the shell, whenever we run it, this command, shell is going to locate that. It is going to try to fishing. But in each variable, it is going to try to checking about this pwd command is located. So path variable it is reading. Path variable. So this is the important variable which is getting used by the shell. Yeah, the first it is going to look into that in this location pwd is it available or not. If that is not available, then it is going to look it in this folder. If that is not available, then in this folder, in this folder, in this folder. If in all the folders it is not found, then it shows or it returns saying that command not found. Yeah, suppose if I remove this path variable, can I remove that? Yes, we can do that with unset path. So this is a command unalias and aliases to remove it. How do we have unset path? If I run it now, if I try to print it echo dollar path, we don't have this any value of the path. That means path related the value, path variable related values that have been unset that. Now suppose if I run that ls command, it is saying there's no such file or directory. Or if I run that pwd, yeah, the pwd is available. Maybe some other reference is using that. cp not working. That means within that the path variable, what are the binaries which have been defined? Now it is not able to look into that because the path everything is empty, right? Again, if I set that path, can I set the path? Can I assign the value to the path variable? Yes, we can do that by using export keyword. Yes, we can create custom variables and we can customize the values of the variables, that is environment variables, by using export keyword. Export and the variable is the path, and the value I would like to set up that, yes, before whatever I was using that, the same I would like to assign that here. If I run this and if I go for this dollar path, yes, now my path contain the same value. Now if I run the ls, yes, that is available. If I run the cp command, yes, that is available. Yeah, so whenever we are running that any command in the shell, the first shell is going to read the path variable from the environment and it is going to search it first in this directory, that command related binary file. If that is not available, then it is going to look at in the second directory. If it is not available that binary, then third directory, fourth, fifth, like that, all the directories it is going to fishing. If it is not available in all the directories, then it throws command not found. If it is available in any one of the directory, then it is going to take that the binary and the binary which will be executed. And after executing the binary, whatever the output it is returning, that output which will be returned back to the terminal by the shell. As we are understanding initially, shell is one of the important concept component which takes that inputs and it passes this instruction to the kernel, and kernel whatever it returns, then it is going to give the response back to the terminal, right? Yeah, the same thing here. But shell is able to successfully running is nothing but background environment variables are helping that. Yeah, so that is a concept. But from this, like finally, the understanding about it, how do we view that environment variables? So that is a print env. How do we read the value of the environment variable? That is echo dollar and variable name. That is to read the value of the variable. Or we can use it print env and variable name. This is also going to help with that to read the value of the variable reading. But if I would like to change the value of the variable, or if I would like to create a new variable, export is a keyword. Suppose I can create custom variables also. Test, how are you? Yeah, I have just defined the test is the variable name and I have said that's how are you is the value for this. If I export it, And now if I run that env or print env command, then I can see that the test is the variable. Then you see that value which we have this how are you. We can set the custom variables. We can print or we can read that existing variable values. We can print all the environment variables by using print env or env command. Env we can use it, or we can use it print env we can use it. And if you like to read the value of the variable, then we can use it echo dollar and variable. This is just to print it. But how do we set that? The export the variable name equals variable value. And how do we remove the variable? That is unset and a variable name to remove that variable from the environment. And suppose now I have defined the test environment variable. But if I exit here and if I come back or if I relog in, then still that variable is it available or not available? Yeah, aliases in that whatever we discussed, the same concept that is applicable in environment variable section also. So whatever we are defining or whatever the export variables you are setting or changing, everything that is temporarily until this current shell available. Suppose if I try to get it that the test variable that's not available. But if you would like to define this the permanently, then we need to use it the user home directory dot bash rc. In this file aliases already we have defined, right? The same way you can define export test and the variable value. I'm just defining some dummy, or if I have the same specific, that's the variable you can define it. Yes, if I define it and if I run that source with the file, now if I try to print that echo dollar test, yes, I'm getting that. And if I log off it and if I log in back, so even my session if I lost it also, and if I relog in or if I recreate a session, then my environment variables again it will be loaded into the shell. But from where it is loading? From the bash profiles files. Now if I run that echo dollar test, my custom variable is still available. And I can run that empty files also. I hope so, right? We have created alias, right? What is the alias name? Empty files. Yes, now I'm able to run that empty files also. Or CLS. Yeah, so this is the way we can use it that variables. Yeah, the custom variables we can define it. System variables are available. That means a shell whenever it is initializing, it is loading some variables. Yes, we can reuse these variables and we can change the values of these variables. Or if you don't need these variables, you can unset that. Or we can export that about our custom variables permanently or temporarily. Permanently, that is in the bashrc. Temporarily is only within the shell. But once if we close the shell or log off, then we will be losing that all those environment variables if you define that the variables within the shell. But if you define that the variables exporting that variables within the bashrc, so during login time these will be reloaded. Yeah, that's about aliases. That was previous section, and now this section which we are understanding environment variable. So there are two are important things. So whenever you are working with that as a daily activity, say some alias is required to create it and use it, and as well as yeah, defining the custom variables or reusing the existing variables, especially path variable to load that binaries. Suppose Maven we have installed, but Maven binaries we need to add to the shell. But how I can load that all my Maven binaries to the shell? What is the environment variable? I can use it to define my binaries. That is a path variable. Yeah, so these are all points. Just try to work with that and understand it. Yeah, in the next section, we'll come back with another interesting section. Yeah, thank you. That's all from my side.